Hey, what's up guys, it's Marv and welcome back to another Asphalt Legends Unite video, and today is all about Team Pursuit. This is the new cooperative multiplayer mode where you have Syndicate versus Security in a 5 versus 3. So I got the chance to play it when the mode was added back. Now it is an interesting situation happening where it is a separate multiplayer option in the menus, so it isn't included by default in either multiplayer 1 or multiplayer 2. It is its own separate event. So it was released during the initial update and then it went away after a week or so, but now it's finally back. And we do have a fresh selection of both Syndicate cars and also security cars. So it wasn't included in the patch notes directly, but I guess we do have a ton of more security cars to play with, which is awesome. And hopefully over the course of the next couple of months, we'll see some new ones as well, as it seems like the car selection will rotate every time we have a new season of Team Pursuit. So in this video, I wanted to talk about my initial impressions just playing with different cars, different tracks, as well as trying to figure out how the balancing is really going to work, because in my opinion, that is the only thing stopping this from being one of the best game modes in Asphalt history. And I truly mean it. I've had a ton of fun with this game mode, and yes, there are some pretty crazy ups and downs. If you take a look at it from a grander scheme of things, it has been what I have been asking for so long in Asphalt, which is a fresh game mode that really changes the way that the game is played. We've had slight variations of other modes, such as that nitro pollution mode, where the only thing that changed was the fact that you lost nitro capacity every time you hit a certain icon. And we've had the 1 versus 1 mode, which I absolutely love, but again, it's still just first to the finish line in a normal track environment. So Team Pursuit is quite different compared to anything else we've had before, and for that reason alone, I'm having a lot of fun. But also the core mechanics of cops versus robbers, and in this case Syndicate versus Security, is just such a classic and enjoyable experience, and it's no wonder why people have so much nostalgia for games like Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, and why many kids around the world play cops versus robbers. Just a quick note before I get into the balance things that I want to talk about. I want to mention that this video was recorded on my iPhone 12 Pro Max. There was a hotfix recently that definitely improved performance, so now I finally was able to upload some gameplay, because previously it was a choppy mess. Now there are definitely frame drops in this video, especially in the Singapore track, but it is much better compared to last time around, and we did get confirmation from the dev team that hotfixes and performance improvements are still coming, so this isn't the end of it. And what I'm really excited about is the macOS update that is planned for the near future, because it is very bad currently on my 2 Macs that I have access to. But the cool thing about that is I found out there is default support for tilt controls on controllers, so that's going to make it awesome, and hopefully that update comes soon, because I definitely want to upload gameplay using Mac OS. Alright, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of Team Pursuit, because like I said, it's really fun, but I think there are definitely some things that might need to be changed for the long-term future of this game mode. At its core, in terms of the rule set, I think it's totally fine. Each racer having 2 lives and the security having to take down 5 total Syndicate. Maybe that number could be adjusted here and there, but overall the actual rule set of the security starting behind the Syndicate, trying to catch up and take them down, it's a fun concept, and there's nothing really crazy that should be changed about that. I mean, how else are you really going to change that entire concept of cops versus robbers without really doing something completely different? I think the trouble is right now is in the actual mechanics of the takedowns and the balance between the Syndicate and security, not necessarily in terms of the car performance, because I think that's actually quite good right now, but the main problem is how there's not really a good defense for the Syndicate to use besides actually just crashing themselves to avoid getting knocked down. So that'll take away a life, but I don't think it adds to the count of knockdowns for the security. So really, in terms of balance options for the Syndicate, I think the main issue is just that they need an option for defense. One of the best quick fixes could just be one option for defense. Maybe if you know that there is someone behind you trying to knock you down, you can initiate a shockwave, because I think the current takedowns do go through shockwaves, they do go through 360s, so any option that the Syndicate have to maybe just disable that takedown mechanic, maybe like I said, a 360 or being in shockwave, that could maybe create some timing situations where as the security, you want to get close, maybe try and fake out a shockwave from the racer, try and get them to pull a move so that when they are unable to maybe run out of nitro and go into shockwave, you can finally take them down. I think that will add maybe a bit more nuance into the actual gameplay, maybe draw out the races a bit more other than just smashing into all the racers and winning instantly. One of the other very funny things that happens in this game mode is that Syndicate can knock down other Syndicate. I think that should just be an option that could be turned off because it is quite funny. I'm trying to escape with teammates, yet they can knock me down. Ironically enough, sometimes this can actually save you. If there is a police right behind you and you get knocked down from your teammate, you're going to start way behind the security again. So you just sort of evade them by getting knocked down by your teammate, which is an interesting mechanic. Now, in my opinion, the security is where the vast majority of changes need to take place. And unfortunately, I think the problem is rooted directly in how Asphalt Legends Unite works with touch drive. Obviously, any mechanic that is added to the game, any game mode, anything that changes the way that the players play and interact with the game must be designed with touch drive in mind, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult for those users to play at all. Obviously, any track that is designed must have routes and options to swipe and select routes for touch drive users, and the same has to be the case for game modes and mechanics such as the takedown mechanic and driving as a security force. So because of this whole touch drive thing, I think that's where that lock-on mechanic is coming from, where all you have to do is tap on your nitro as a security and you instantly target and lock on to a Syndicate driver if you're close enough, and you don't really need to aim your car, it does it all for you. Obviously that is to help touch drive users because otherwise they wouldn't really be able to knock down any of the Syndicate if the Syndicate can just, you know, grind on a wall or go in the air in a direction that the touch drive users simply can't go towards. So I find that oftentimes when I'm the security, it's way too easy to just slam into all the racers and take them down very quickly, ending matches within like 30 seconds of them starting. So that has to be changed, and I have a couple of ideas, but like I said, it's going to be very difficult because it all has to be designed around touch drive. So one of the initial balance changes that I thought of was requiring a lock-on before a takedown can even be triggered on the force for security. And what I mean by this is similar to the EMP strike in Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, where you have to keep close visual contact with the racer in order for the EMP to strike. So in a similar fashion, if you're about to try and take down a Syndicate driver, you need to ride their tail for a bit, but also keep your distance. Obviously, if they escape, that knockdown can no longer happen. Again, this might be difficult because if you're a touch drive user, if you're facing a manual user, if they realize they're about to be locked on, they can just swerve out of the way. And as a touch drive user, there isn't really much you can do about that. But I think if the developers can make a similar mechanic to this, maybe requiring just the distance factor, so even if the manual driver is swerving back and forth, if you're the security, if you're keeping your distance for a certain amount of time, then you can trigger the knockdown. Now, as I mentioned before, if you get knocked down as a Syndicate driver, you might start well behind the security, and that's one of the situations where it's almost impossible for the security to win, ironically enough, because in Asphalt Legends Unite, we don't have a brake button. We can't just slow down and stop or turn the other way very easily. So if you're the Syndicate, one of the goals might actually be to get behind the security, because if you can do that, you can just run down the clock easily, and then if the security try to get around you, if they're going slow, you can pass them very easily without getting knocked down, and then continue on until the clock is run down again. So as the security, one of the difficulties is trying to find a way to slow down but not quite crash, so that you can go behind the Syndicate and knock them down again. If I recall correctly, in the single player modes for this mechanic, you could trigger a 360 where your car actually swerves to the side and blocks the racer, and that will knock them down. I haven't found a way to trigger this in multiplayer yet. Maybe I just haven't gotten in the situation where that happens, but maybe that could be a separate button that is added so the security can slow down, so that when the Syndicate do get behind them, they can form maybe some sort of a roadblock, something that yes could be avoided, but just something where if the syndicate get behind the security, they don't just run down the clock and win automatically. So throughout this video, I proposed many solutions to problems that unfortunately stem from the core gameplay mechanics of Asphalt Legends Unite, specifically touch drive. And I know the solutions I offered aren't the cleanest and probably not the easiest to implement for the developers, but I'm just spitballing ideas, and I'm very curious to hear how you guys would improve the game mode in the comment section down below. Again, I know I focused on all of these issues and solutions, and that's not to say that this game mode isn't fun. I've been playing it a lot and I really do have a lot of fun, and I think the best thing about the implementation of this mode is how uncompetitive it is. I mean, the rewards aren't really great, but you also have full access to all the cars, at least some of them. You have the max free tries in the selection for the cars. So if you're a casual user and you don't have access to some of these cars, you can just play whatever, and it's very casual in the sense that there isn't a whole lot of rewards assigned to the ranking. There aren't crazy leagues that you have to climb up to, and again, you have free access to some of the cars anyway. So regardless of if Gameloft decides to try and balance this, make it more competitive, make it more fair, as long as they keep the rewards in check, which I know is going to sound ironic. Obviously, I want better rewards for this. I want better blueprints. I want all these things. But you don't want a situation where players are really tryharding in this game mode and fighting for every last victory, because in that sense, players are really going to start exploiting all of these issues associated with the game mode. Then you have an even bigger problem on your hands. And so what I mean by keeping the rewards in check, I just mean as long as they keep the implementation very casual, not very competitive, and make players understand that this is just more for fun rather than crazy rewards or trying to climb the leaderboards as much as you can, then I think honestly it's just going to stay as a very fun third game mode that we have access to, and something that I would absolutely love to have as an option in private lobbies, especially so that I can play with you guys in this game mode. Alrighty, so I hope you enjoyed this video on Team Pursuit. Again, I'm really looking forward to how this game mode develops. Are players going to find different mechanics? Maybe there is an option for defense for Syndicate that we haven't quite realized yet, but I'm also curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I will catch you all later.